Hi, in this video I'll be sharing my ongoing battles with depression in hopes of decreasing the stigma around it and hopefully helping those who haven't started their own journey yet to take their first steps. The following is just my personal journey. Do not consider anything I say as medical advice. The last thing I want is for you to take anything I say as confirmation to go a certain route or scare you from trying something. Each of us are unique individuals and require different medications and treatments. Always consult with a medical professional before making any changes. For some context, here's a quick background on me. I was born in 1981 in Canada to Chinese immigrant parents. I currently reside in Calgary, Alberta, with my wife and my pet rabbit. My parents are still married and I have one older brother. I have a relationship with all of them, but it's not a great one at the moment. But it's not the worst it's been either. Now on to my journey. My acknowledgement and first steps towards working on my depression began in 2015. I met my girlfriend, now wife, in 2012. Through the first few years, I kept seeing how my mood was impacting her. I was having suicidal thoughts frequently and hated work. Evenings would be me coming home angry and unhappy. This and other things were clearly impacting our relationship, and I no longer wanted it to. I didn't want to continue feeling like I was hurting her. The discussions we had on my mental health were on and off, but after our wedding in 2015, I finally spoke to my family doctor about how I was feeling and what I was going through. This was the first time I had spoken to any medical professional about it. He felt I had major depressive disorder and put me on my first antidepressant, Cipralex. He also suggested I find a psychologist for some therapy. Off I went. First day of meds was great. I felt like nothing could make me angry and I could just get through the day. But that feeling was short-lived and only lasted that day. I kept up with my visits to the doctor and he later added Wellbutrin to the mix. Again, no real changes for the positive and I was reaching a low point. The lowest I can remember was being at work and walking to my car at lunch. I called my wife and told her to leave me. I felt like I was broken and a bad partner. She'd be better off without me. She told me she would never leave me. Less than a year of being on antidepressants, I started working with my doctor to come off of them. Any positives were greatly overshadowed by negatives. During that time, I had also found a psychologist and had some visits. In my mind, that wasn't working out well either. She showed me some techniques on grounding myself in the moment instead of being in my head all the time, and we talked through my life. But in the end, I didn't feel she was a good fit for me. She also wasn't working with my schedule, so we split ways, but she was able to make a few recommendations for other psychologists in the area. I switched and ended up finding one that I liked. As cliché as it sounds, I found a lot of my issues stem back to my childhood and began around the 5th grade, possibly even earlier. The lack of love and caring from my family, the constant pressure to excel. No praise, only discipline. I was finally finding a reason for why I felt the way I did. A few years passed since I stopped medication, and I found I wasn't able to keep up the battle on my own. At the same time, I was dealing with hard times at work. I was forced to transfer to a sister company or lose my job completely. This was a place I didn't really care to work for in the first place, so I was feeling a lot of stress, anger, and resentment. By chance, my wife started seeing a new family doctor that she loves, so I decided to switch over to her as well. I began talking with my new doctor about what I was going through, and eventually, after a few visits, she asked if I'd considered taking a medical leave from work. This is not something that I'd ever considered for myself, and I didn't know anyone who had ever taken one. After discussing the leave with my wife in July of 2018, I decided to give it a go. I went back to my doctor and she wrote me a note saying I needed to be off work. Later that day, I scanned it and sent it in to my manager and HR at work. That was my last day of work. I was now on short-term disability. For the first time in my adult life, I was jobless, but I wasn't going to be spending my days sitting on my ass. My doctor put me on a new antidepressant, Pristiq. She also enrolled me in day hospital. This is a local program at a few of our hospitals. The website states it offers stabilization and treatment for individuals experiencing acute addiction and/or mental health concerns which significantly impair their daily functioning. Offers a program which includes the following components: psychoeducation groups, skill development to enhance individuals' abilities to manage current and future addiction and/or mental health concerns, individual therapy, multidisciplinary team, nursing, social work, occupational therapy, psychology, psychiatry. This program was a month long, which I attended for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It was a group setting that encouraged people to participate. That was just the education aspect. Any therapy was done one-on-one, but for the first time in my life, I was working on myself, gaining the skills to deal with my mental health and confronting things I had never tried to deal with before. Throughout the program, I had this underlying feeling of not being able to function in the world and uncertainty of how I was ever supposed to fit in again. When am I better? How do I know I've been cured? The month passed and I had learned some things, but it wasn't some sort of miracle. I was then transferred to the outpatient program where I had access to a psychiatrist. So throughout my time in day hospital and the outpatient program, all the way up until December 2019, I made many medication adjustments. This included changes to dosage as well as type. I tried Cymbalta, Zoloft, Seroquel, Trintellix, Abilify, Zopiclone, Fetzima, Xanax, and Mirtazapine. My journey through medications was hell. I guess there were small moments of feeling okay, but overall they were negative for me. Each medication had its own set of side effects. I experienced no sex drive, not that it was even easy or possible to get an erection. Peeing began to be a chore as it came out so slowly. I was frequently lightheaded, dizzy, or had headaches. At its worst, I gained 30 pounds and nothing I did would take any of it off. I had some of my worst suicidal thoughts ever. Sleeping was terrible even though I was frequently tired. Sometimes I ended up sleeping forever but still felt exhausted. I had vision issues and anxiety. So yet again, I talked with my doctor and we decided it was time for me to get off antidepressants. So 2020 rolls around. I've been off short-term disability for a while now and am on long-term disability. Just like everyone else in the world, the pandemic is a time of staying inside a lot. I was still able to connect with my medical team on the phone or through video conference. I was still feeling very unprepared to go back to work, but insurance and my doctor felt I was getting well enough for it. I was sent to various assessments by insurance at third-party companies. All signs pointed to work around October of 2020, but then one assessment went horribly. It was a third-party occupational therapist. She said things to me like I needed to be on medication, that I was not ready to go back to work, and that I was still in a major depressive episode. You would think I would have been jumping for joy at this news since I didn't feel prepared to return anyways, but it just set me back. First I was being told, "You're getting better, and we think you're capable of work again." Then suddenly this person says, "Nah, you're not doing well at all." This halted the return to work. Insurance assigned me to a psychologist to help me progress and sent me to a psychiatrist for an assessment. The psychiatrist assessment came back in January of 2021 saying that I have pervasive depressive disorder, but I am capable of work. So it was a green light for work again. So a return to work is imminent, but I can't get one thought out of my head. Throughout the years, I had been hearing about the use of psychedelics for the treatment of depression. I began to be more serious about it as an option. After more research, I considered growing my own magic mushrooms as this felt like the only legal way to get my hands on it. We live in a small one-bedroom condo, so growing mushrooms felt like a hard task to accomplish as it needed correct temperatures, humidity, lighting conditions, and frankly space we just didn't have. Then I stumbled upon the option to order them online. After more research and seeing it possibly wasn't a scam, I went ahead and ordered knowing I might just have thrown $100 out the window. Right after Christmas of 2020, I placed my order for 1 ounce of Golden Teacher mushrooms and had them in my possession in January. I ordered such a large amount because if this was going to work, I didn't want to have to deal with ordering it again in the near future. My initial intentions were to microdose the mushrooms. This is taking very small amounts as to not even feel them. I set out to find what dose would work for me. My first dose was 0.1 grams. I cleared my schedule and laid in my bed with my eyes closed while listening to a classical music playlist created by the psilocybin researchers at Johns Hopkins. I felt like I ended up having a tiny trip and came up with some helpful ideas. I continued to feel great for the remainder of the day. As a side note, my only experience with illegal drugs was smoking weed once in my late 20s, and this was nothing like that. With return to work imminent, and if this was going to be my medication of choice, I really wanted to get my dosage figured out, so I went about taking it every other day. I later shifted to doing 1 day on followed by 2 days off. In January, I tried doses as low as 0.04 grams and as high as 0.3 grams based on how I felt things were progressing. But my overall mood kept declining and I could never match that first day. I was a little concerned as I started having diarrhea when taking it on an empty stomach. I tried taking it in the evening so I had less of an empty stomach, but also to see if it impacted my sleep since I read that it could. No big improvements there, so I tried ginger pills to fix the stomach issues. I also tried adding in niacin as well to possibly aid in neurogenesis, but I began feeling like mushrooms weren't the answer for me. I felt defeated again. It was probably wrong to chase the feeling I had that first day, but I wanted something close to it if possible. Before I started magic mushrooms, I knew most medical research was based around larger doses and not regular microdoses. Microdosing has a lot of anecdotal evidence, but not a scientific backing. I felt my next step would be a large dose, a macrodose as they say. At the end of January 2021, I tried my biggest dose at 1.5 grams using a lemon tech. That's just soaking your ground up mushrooms in lemon juice for 20 minutes. 1.5 grams is not a huge dose, but I wanted to go low and slow. Regardless, I went on quite the journey that day, but came out feeling good. Still not the same feeling as my very first time, but better than I had been. At this moment, I don't know where I'm going to go from here. Should I keep doing larger doses every few weeks? Should I go back to microdosing? I'm going to play it by ear for now. This is where the lack of professional medical support sucks, but I feel like my journey up until now has given me the tools to attempt this non-traditional route on my own. I have the ability to figure out if this is something that is helping me or if I need to stop it completely. This was just a brief overview of the years of struggle, pain, and self-discovery. I didn't cover everything or go into tons of detail. If you'd like to know more about anything specifically, drop a comment below and I'll see if I can make a new video on it. Otherwise, I hope to continue to post more and expand on the various things I spoke of and might branch into other areas of interest. Thanks for watching.